What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and today we are going to look at RyanSwag's performance in the GamePress Go Battle League Gauntlet. Now, if you're not familiar with what the GamePress Go Battle League Gauntlet is, I broke that down in my previous video, and today we are going to take a look at some of RyanSwag's games here. Ryan managed an impressive 7-0 performance in the Great League, so I wanted to dedicate a video to him and his team is a pretty cool one. So he is going to be using Lanturn, Alolan Muk, and Altaria, and we will see why that just lines up so well against all of his competitors here in the Gauntlet. For Ryan's first competitor, he is going to be up against Raven, aka Brian Tien, and Raven is running the Meganium, so Ryan is immediately going to switch to his Alolan Muk. And this is basically the core of the team. You'll see in a lot of these games, Ryan switches over to his Alolan Muk as a safe switch Pokemon, and it does pretty well for him. The Dark Pulse is almost always unresisted, and if not, then the Sludge Bomb is going to be unresisted if he's like up against another Dark type Pokemon, and the Poison type, the Sludge Bomb, as we can see against Raven's team here, both the Meganium and the Azumarill don't want to get hit by a Sludge Bomb. So Raven decides to go into his Registeel here. And the other thing is Ryan really likes to make use of these shields. So we'll see. He's already used 2 shields, finally drawing out a shield from the Registeel here. And he is going to take a hit from this Focus Blast, but that's not even going to knock him out. Ryan basically, and I've heard him talk about this in other videos and such, but he really likes winning the lead and then using that lead to be able to basically have switch advantage for the rest of the battle. So obviously he just won that lead and he's down a shield right now, but now he gets to go back into Lanturn against his opponent's Azumarill. And you can see he immediately brings up that switch menu because Azumarill can't do anything in this matchup, and when his opponent switches back into Meganium, he switches into Altaria. Meganium can also not do anything against Altaria, so even though Raven is up on shields, he's definitely super far behind in this match. And this is basically the play style that Ryan likes to utilize. So yeah, we're gonna see that play out pretty easily here. I don't really think that there's too much that Raven can do. These Frenzy Plants are doing nothing to Altaria, and Altaria is just farming down. Now we're gonna see some Sky attacks on Azumarill, and we're not even gonna see this shield get used. And while Azumarill can take out this Altaria pretty easily, though it is gonna eat another Sky attack here, it can take out this Altaria, but then it's going to be up against a full health Lanturn in the back, and there is going to be absolutely nothing that it can do here. So Ryan just farms him down for a while and does eventually use a Thunderbolt here. But I think this is a good game to just explain how Ryan's team works so well. And he is more than willing to spend the shields on his first Pokemon, which I think some players are a little bit afraid to do. Alolan Muk just also winds up being such a good safe switch, and then Altaria and Lanturn just make a pretty good core against some really common threats. So there you go, there's Ryan's first game and his first win. Game 2, we're going to look at Ryan up against Cuddywao, and Cuddywao is using a Haunter, Meganium, Azumarill team, and Haunter is a pretty tricky Pokemon. It looks like Ryan wants to switch out, but Haunter is going to go ahead and throw a Shadow Punch, which Ryan falls for the bait and does shield. Haunter's a really tricky Pokemon. I absolutely hate playing against it because they do just bait you and make you feel like an idiot every single time. He switches to Alolan Muk, so Haunter definitely has to get out of there, but Cuddywao's back two Pokemon are both weak to poison. So Alolan Muk is definitely a hole in Cuddywao's team here, and Ryan correctly doesn't shield this Frenzy Plant. Obviously, the Earthquake from Meganium does threaten the Alolan Muk, but he didn't fall for the bait and now can just fire off some double Dark Pulses up against this Meganium. So Cuddywow is going to go ahead and use a shield here, and then I believe we will see a shield from RyanSwag, even though this is a Frenzy Plant. Yeah, we will see a shield because he's going to beat Cuddy to a Dark Pulse, and oh, Cuddy actually goes ahead and switches out, knowing that he's going to lose that. He tries to catch the Dark Pulse on his Azumarill, but Ryan sees it coming because he does it just a little bit too soon, and then Ryan can Sludge Wave the Azumarill. So that is pretty awkward here. Azumarill is now in a super bad spot up against a Lanturn. Lanturn, I like to say, is basically like a Play Rough Azumarill times 2. It's like an Azumarill that tries desperately hard to win the Azumarill mirror, and for that sacrifices all grass coverage. Now this is a potential turning point in the battle. The Lanturn tries to farm down the Azumarill, but the Haunter comes in with the Shadow Punch loaded up. So it gets rid of all of Lanturn's energy. Unfortunately, Cuddywow is a little bit too far behind to make that matter. Again, these Frenzy Plants aren't going to be able to do anything to this Altaria, and the Altaria takes the Meganium down. So slick move there from Cuddywow to negate Ryan's energy gain from that farm down, but it just wasn't quite enough. Next, we're going to see Ryan's battle against Lorma, and Lorma is running an Umbreon, Galvantula, Meganium team here. Pretty unique team. Ryan, seeing this Umbreon, is going to again switch into his safe switch of Alolan Muk. And these two Dark-type Pokemon are going to battle it out here for a little bit, trading their non-Dark-type moves against each other. Here comes a Sludge Wave? Yeah, Sludge Wave from the Alolan Muk here, and Last Resorts from this Umbreon. So, yeah, Lorma decides not to switch. Both of his Pokemon line up pretty well against the Lanturn, so he decides he's just going to keep Umbreon in this fight and not switch. However, what Lorma doesn't realize is both of his Pokemon line up pretty terribly against the Altaria in the back. Ryan is one of the only players he is the only player in the Great League portion of this tournament running in Altaria. So that was definitely a good metagame read by him. Ryan gets one shield bait here, but doesn't get the second one, and then switches into Lanturn to eat up this Last Resort from Umbreon here. So pretty aggressive switches by the Swagman, and Lorma is now going to bring in Meganium. So, like I was kind of saying before, Lanturn I consider to be like a very specialized mirror match Azumarill. It has no coverage on Meganium. Both of its charge moves are not very effective, and Meganium is going to be able to take it down pretty easily here with a bunch of energy left over. However, the Pokemon that Ryan brings in is Altaria, which is basically the opposite of the Lanturn Meganium matchup. Now there is no way for Meganium to have any type of coverage on Altaria, and Altaria is just going to farm this Meganium down here. So we will see Galvantula come out now from Raven, and we're going to see a lot of farming from Ryan first. Before this Discharge actually beats Altaria to the move. Altaria just barely survives there, which was huge, and allows Ryan to get this second shield from Galvantula. Now Ryan switches back into Alolan Muk, and this Dark Pulse hits super strong. Galvantula is pretty squishy as well, so this Dark Pulse takes down Galvantula, and then Lorma brings in Umbreon, and this is a race to the charge move here, but Ryan only has to charge to Dark Pulse, where Lorma has to charge to Last Resort. So I think they might have even just CMP tied, but Ryan still wins the CMP tie, takes down the Umbreon, and then takes down Meganium with a few Snarls. So that was a super, super close matchup. His Altaria had like no health left, but definitely a well-fought battle from RyanSwag. We're going to look at Ryan's game against Manaholics, and Mana is also leading with Umbreon, but this time with two counter users in the back. So definitely a different cool team here from Manaholics. Immediately after seeing this Umbreon, Ryan is going to switch into his Alolan Muk as he do, and this time Manaholics is going to counter that switch by switching to Vigoroth. So we're going to see some body slams from Manaholics, but the real pressure that this Vigoroth can bring is the Bulldoze, which will just one-shot this Alolan Muk. But as we know, Ryan is really, really willing to use his shields here. So Manaholics builds up to a Bulldoze, and he's going to unleash it this time, and Ryan shields. And then when Ryan fires back with a Dark Pulse, now that Vigoroth doesn't have any energy, Manaholics isn't super inclined to shield, and he lets his Vigoroth go down. Now, Mana doesn't have a super typical team, so I don't think he gets super punished from this, but this he does get really punished for. He uses a Last Resort, and the Alolan Muk still has enough health to fire off a Sludge Wave. So this is huge. This is going to take out half of Umbreon's health here, and that Alolan Muk just did so much work for the Swagman. So Manaholic still does have a shield here. Ryan is much more willing to use his shields early in the game than his opponents are, and he then decides to bring in Altaria. This winds up being definitely a pretty good call for Ryan. Because he doesn't really want to line up his Altaria against the Deoxys. He doesn't know about the Deoxys yet, and as you saw, he took a little bit of time thinking about what he wanted to switch in, what his opponent might have, and just decided on the Altaria. So he's going to bring in, Manaholics is going to bring in the Deoxys now, and Ryan is going to fire off some Sky attacks on this Deoxys, and then we are going to see a Rock Slide on the Altaria. But there is a full health Lanturn on the other side of the field for RyanSwag. So this would take like 3 Rock Slides to take this Lanturn out. Maybe 2 when you factor in the counter damage that would come along with it. But because Lanturn doesn't have a weakness to electric attacks, Deoxys is really far behind here. And Ryan just bubbles him down. He sees Manaholics as a shield. He bubbles down the Deoxys. The Umbreon comes in and he bubbles that down too. Next, we're going to look at Ryan up against your Calc Professor running Shiftry, Registeel, Deoxys, and immediately after seeing that Shiftry, we see a switch from RyanSwag into Alolan Muk, which your Calc Professor doesn't really have a great answer to this either. He switches into Deoxys, and his Deoxys is taking super effective damage while dealing neutral damage here, and he's got to shield these Dark Pulses because they would just deal so much damage to him. Obviously, he wanted to get out with that Shiftry as soon as possible, but he might have switched into the wrong Pokemon here. He might have had to go into Registeel and just see what he could make happen. He is actually going to lose the CMP here, which is pretty awkward, and he will almost lose his Deoxys, but he will get to throw one final charge move here, and Ryan is going to go ahead and shield it. So your Calc Professor will then switch over to Registeel, and Registeel is going to take some Dark Pulses here before he can get to a Flash Cannon. And a Flash Cannon, I believe, will take this Alolan Muk out here. Both players are out of shields here, playing fair, fighting fair, I believe. And that does take the Alolan Muk out. Yeah, we're out of shields here. So Ryan definitely has to go into the Lanturn from here. And Lanturn's pretty good against Registeel. Your Calc Professor does have a little bit of extra energy, so he will get to Focus Blast this Lanturn. but he'd much prefer the Shiftry to be in against this Lanturn here. So we are going to see the Lanturn deal some damage to Registeel, and the Thunderbolt takes it out pretty quickly. And when when your Calc Professor brings in the Shiftry, Ryan knows that's coming and just immediately makes the switch over to Altaria. He then catches that Leaf Blade, and that winds up being super crucial. Shiftry's only real means to win this one here is to build to 2 foul plays before the Altaria can kill him. Your Calc tries to switch to the Deoxys, but the Sky Attack is already loaded up. So there was an avenue to victory for your Calc Professor, but he just couldn't find it, and Ryan played super tight to ensure that victory would go down. Next, we're going to look at my game against RyanSwag, and this is definitely not my proudest battle. Obviously, I lose the lead here, and I'd love to line up Shiftry against this Lanturn, but I know if I switch into Shiftry, I'm going to get counter-switched. Obviously, he would just switch into Altaria from that point, so I just go into Registeel, and Ryan keeps his Lanturn in. He doesn't really have to care about this one. He knows that he can Thunderbolt me. He knows that he can shield my Focus Blasts if he really needs to. And my Flash Cannons aren't going to deal any damage at all here. He does shield this Flash Cannon, though, and it would have got him pretty low, but I think he still would have been okay. He builds up a bunch of energy, though, and then fires off another Thunderbolt. So this is going to get my second shield, and then I believe he's able to KO me by beating me. Oh, that's right, I overfarm. Yeah, this just wasn't a good battle for me. Ryan kind of played with his energy there, and it made me think I had a little bit more time before my Registeel would die, but definitely outplayed me. Then he switches to the Alolan Muk, and I know that I can't really switch to my Azumarill because Ryan has a shield, and now he's beating me in energy. He will just Sludge Wave me if I switch. So that's what happens. I eventually switch to the Azumarill, and he Sludge Waves me. And yeah, I'm kind of just outplayed at every corner here. This was a pretty terrible performance from my part, and I actually don't even get to see Ryan's third Pokemon, as this Alolan Muk is going to beat me to a Dark Pulse here with the CMP tie. It's going to take out my Azumarill, I believe, here, even though it's not very effective. And then I have this Leaf Blade Shiftry, and I don't think that this even takes it out. I don't remember, though. Yeah, it doesn't take it out, and then he Sludge Waves me. So Alolan Muk just absolutely dumps on me and kills all of my Pokemon. Ryan still has 3 Pokemon left. I got schooled. I was not ready to battle against the Swagman, but great battle by him, and yeah, I'll take my lumps there. We're gonna look at Ryan's last battle now against T-Forgery, and most of these battles it has been Alolan Muk showing off, but in this one we really get to see the power of Lanturn here. Now Lanturn is in a tough spot up against this Alolan Raichu as a lead, and this Alolan Raichu even has Grass Knot, so Ryan definitely has to shield, but Alolan Raichu is a pretty frail Pokemon, and we can see just how much damage these bubbles are doing to this Alolan Raichu. So the Alolan Raichu also has to shield. It's going to fire off another Grass Knot, which the Swagman is going to shield as well, and then we're just going to see a bubble farm down on this Alolan Raichu. So that was super impressive to me. I was not expecting that, and then we're going to see some Thunderbolts come off on this Vigoroth, and this is just incredible. So T-Forgery thinks that he can farm down the Vigoroth, but Ryan gets to another Lanturn. So this is just absolutely huge, because look at Vigoroth's health right now. It's got a bunch of energy loaded up, but it also has almost no health remaining. So Ryan now goes into his Altaria, which he had to do. If he went into a Alolan Muk, it would have just eaten a bulldoze. But he goes into the Altaria to eat up these body slams and farm down the Vigoroth here. And now T-Forgery only has one Pokemon remaining. So T-Forgery switches into this Umbreon, and he's got to make this Umbreon work against both the Lanturn and the Altaria. That's going to be an uphill battle. He does have the safe switch in the Vigoroth there. He can switch to that and try to eat up one of Ryan's charge moves. He is able to take down the Altaria, but this Alolan Muk is going to be a lot harder to take down. So we're going to be seeing some last resorts here, and he's got to catch this Sludge Wave. That is his only way out of it, but his switch timer isn't even up yet. So Ryan gets to the Sludge Wave, and that's going to take out Umbreon. Oh no, Umbreon survives with just the slightest bit of health remaining, but it shouldn't really matter. Then T-Forgery switches into Vigoroth and tries to get to a Body Slam, but it just doesn't have enough HP, and that's due to the Lanturn. So T-Forgery thought he had another shot here, still switch into the Vigoroth and Body Slam this Muk down, but it winds up not being good enough. Ryan is just able to snarl down the Vigoroth, and then he can kill off the Umbreon pretty easily. So definitely some great games by RyanSwag, and if you want to see more games from all of these other competitors, I'm going to be showcasing everybody's games playing against every other opponent in the coming videos. So stay tuned to that. Obviously, Ryan is also going to be advancing to the Ultra League. One of these opponents that he just played against is not going to be advancing to the Ultra League. So whoever has the least points in the Great League will not advance, but Ryan has locked in his spot, and 7-0 is also the best you can do in this tournament. Nobody else is going to be able to go 7-0 in any of the other leagues because there will only be 6 games in the Ultra League. So Ryan got himself a pretty fabulous start here to start things off in the GamePress Go Battle League Gauntlet, and I am very excited to see what he comes up with for Ultra League, which hopefully will be able to slow him down in that league, but definitely an impressive performance in this one. If you want to follow along to see all of the battles in all of the leagues, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay tuned to the channel. That's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace!